The Great Hall of the Galactic Council had never been so quiet. Representatives from 47 different species sat in their assigned seats, their eyes fixed on the tall figure standing in the center of the room. High Commander of the Dominion held his head high, his scaled skin shining under the bright lights. His forearms were crossed over his massive chest, and his yellow eyes showed no fear. For 2,000 years, peace had ruled the galaxy. The Treaty of Eternal Harmony had ended all wars between species. Trade flowed freely. Cultures mixed and grew together. Children were born who had never known the sound of weapons or the fear of invasion. It was a golden age that many believed would last forever. But nothing lasts forever. The Dominion withdraws from the Treaty of Eternal Harmony, announced. His deep voice echoed through the hall. We are done pretending to be equals with species who are clearly beneath us. Gasps filled the room. Delegate Myra a gentle being with silver skin and large dark eyes, covered her mouth with her thin fingers. The ambassador dropped his data pad in shock. Even the ancient elder who had lived for over 800 years looked surprised. You cannot do this, said the council speaker, unnamed. The treaty has kept us all safe for 2,000 years. Why would you throw that away? Laughed, it was a cold, harsh sound. Safe. The do not need safety, we need glory, we need conquest. We have waited long enough. He turned slowly, looking at each delegation one by one. When his eyes found the human section, he smiled in a way that showed all his sharp teeth. We declare war on humanity, he said. More gasps, more shock. The humans were known throughout the galaxy as peaceful farmers and traders. They had no great military. Their ships were small and simple. They had joined the council 2,000 years ago and had never shown any interest in fighting. Most species considered them kind but weak. The humans, Delegate Myra spoke up, her voice shaking. Why would you attack them? They have done nothing to you. Exactly, replied. They have done nothing. They are the weakest species in this council. They will fall quickly and their worlds will become ours. After that, others will follow. All eyes turned to the human delegation. Ambassador Sam Miller sat calmly in his chair. He was 60 years old, with gray hair and a lined face that had seen many years of diplomatic work. His assistant, a young woman named Bate Palmer, sat beside him with wide eyes. Sam Miller did something that confused everyone in the room. He smiled. It was not a nervous smile or a forced smile. It was a genuine, almost relieved smile, as if he had been waiting for this moment for a very long time. Ambassador Miller, the council speaker said carefully, do you understand what has just happened? They have declared war on your species. Sam stood up slowly. He straightened his simple gray suit and looked at with calm eyes. Yes, I understand perfectly, Sam said. His voice was steady and quiet. The Dominion has chosen to end 2,000 years of peace by attacking humanity. I have heard the declaration clearly. Frowned. This was not the reaction he had expected. He had expected fear. He had expected begging. He had expected the human to ask for protection from the other species. You do not seem afraid, said. No, Sam agreed, I do not. Then you are a fool. My fleet of 10,000 warships is already moving toward your home system. In 3 days, Earth will burn. Sam nodded slowly as if it just told him about the weather. 10,000 ships, that is quite a lot. Delegate Myra stood up quickly. Ambassador Miller, please, they will offer you protection. Our defensive shields can help guard your colonies until we find a peaceful solution. Other delegates began to speak up as well. They offered their medical ships. They offered their ancient wisdom in negotiations. Even species who had never spoken to humans before offered their help. Sam raised his hand gently, and the room fell silent. I thank you all for your kindness, he said, but humanity does not need protection. Laughed loudly. You have 12 combat-capable ships in your entire fleet. 12. What can 12 ships do against 10,000? Sam's smile grew slightly wider. "I suppose we will find out." He turned to Bate Palmer and spoke quietly. "Send the message to Earth. Tell them they finally chose us. Begin the awakening." Bate nodded and began typing on her communication device. Her hands were steady, and there was a strange light in her eyes that had not been there before. The alien delegates watched in confusion. The humans were acting as if this were good news, as if they had been waiting for someone to declare war on them. It made no sense. Stepped closer to Sam. He towered over the human by nearly 2 feet. "What game are you playing, human? What is this awakening you speak of?" Sam looked up at the massive warrior without any fear in his eyes. "No game, High Commander. Humanity has simply been asleep for a very long time, and you have just decided to wake us up." "You are insane," declared. "Your species will be extinct within a week." "Perhaps," Sam said. He began walking toward the exit, with Bate following close behind. At the door, he stopped and looked back at the council one more time. "To all our friends in this council, I suggest you stay far away from the Sol system for the next few days. Things might get a little bright." And then he was gone. The council hall erupted in confused conversation. Delegates argued about what the humans were planning. Some thought they had a secret weapon. Others thought they had simply gone mad with fear. Only Delegate Myra stayed quiet. She remembered an old story her grandmother had told her, a story from before the Treaty of Eternal Harmony, a story about a species so powerful and so terrible that they had chosen to hide their strength and pretend to be weak. She had always thought it was just a legend. Now she was not so sure. In his ship flying back to Earth, Sam Miller sat alone in his cabin. He looked out at the stars passing by, and the smile slowly faded from his face. In its place came a deep sadness. 2,000 years, he whispered to himself. We kept the secret for 2,000 years, and now it ends. He closed his eyes and remembered the old stories, the stories of what humanity had been before the treaty, the stories of the Great War that had nearly destroyed them, the stories of why they had chosen to hide. The galaxy was about to learn the truth about humanity. And Sam Miller was not sure if that was a good thing or a very, very bad thing. 3 days after the declaration of war, a military transport landed in the mountains of what was once called Switzerland. The peaks were covered in snow, and the air was cold and thin. To anyone watching from above, it looked like an ordinary supply delivery to a small research station. But deep beneath those mountains, something was waking up. Admiral Brooks stepped off the transport and took a deep breath of the cold air. She was 55 years old, with short gray hair and sharp blue eyes that missed nothing. She had been retired for 10 years, living quietly on a farm in Nebraska, growing corn and raising chickens. She had believed her fighting days were over. She had been wrong. A young officer in a crisp uniform was waiting for her. Commander Daniel Price saluted sharply. "Admiral Brooks, welcome back. We have been expecting you." Returned the salute. "I never thought I would see this place again. Is the vault ready?" "It has been ready for 2,000 years, Admiral. It was just waiting for someone to wake it up." They walked to what looked like a simple metal door in the side of the mountain. Daniel placed his hand on a scanner, then looked into a light for his eye to be read, then spoke a code phrase in a language that had not been spoken on Earth for centuries. The door opened, and they stepped inside. What lay beyond was not a simple research station. It was a city, an underground city filled with technology that would make the rest of the galaxy weep with envy. Ships hung in massive hangars, their designs sleek and deadly. Weapons lined the walls, each one capable of destruction that most species could not imagine. And everywhere people were moving with purpose, preparing for what was to come. "My God," whispered, even though she had seen it all before. "It still takes my breath away." Daniel nodded. "The vault has been maintained perfectly for 2,000 years. Every ship is ready to fly. Every weapon is ready to fire. Every soldier is ready to fight. They walked through the massive facility, passing laboratories where scientists worked on machines that bent the laws of physics. They passed training rooms where soldiers practiced combat moves that seemed impossible. They passed a room filled with screens showing the movement of the fleet, still 3 days away from Earth. Finally, they reached the command center. It was a circular room with a huge holographic display in the middle showing the entire galaxy. Officers sat at stations around the room, monitoring everything. Dr. Laura Grant was waiting for them. She was the head scientist of the vault, a small woman with wild gray hair and glasses that were always sliding down her nose. She had devoted her entire life to maintaining the technology that humanity had hidden away. "Admiral Brooks," Laura said with a tired smile, "it has been too long." Laura embraced her old friend. "I wish we were meeting under better circumstances." "So do I, but they have made their choice, and now we must make ours." Walked to the center of the room and looked at the holographic display. 10,000 red dots showed the fleet moving toward Earth. 12 small blue dots showed the human response. 12 ships, said quietly. "That is all we are sending." Daniel stepped forward. "Admiral, 12 of our ships are more than enough. You know what they can do." "I know, that is what worries me." She turned to face the officers in the room. These were people who had trained their entire lives for a moment they hoped would never come. They were the keepers of humanity's darkest secret. 2,000 years ago, humanity nearly destroyed itself. We developed technology that could crack planets. We built weapons that could make stars explode, and we used them. We used them on each other. The room was silent. Everyone knew this history, but hearing it spoken aloud still carried weight. Billions died in the Great Civil War. Our home world was, our colonies burned. We looked at what we had done and we were horrified. When the Galactic Council invited us to join them, we made a decision. We would hide our true nature. We would pretend to be simple farmers and traders. We would let the galaxy believe we were weak. She paused and looked at each officer in turn. We did this not because we were cowards. We did this because we were terrified of ourselves. We knew that if the galaxy saw what we could do, they would either fear us or try to destroy us. Either way, it would mean more war, more death, more horror. Laura Grant spoke up. For 2,000 years, the plan worked. We lived in peace. We grew and learned and healed. We hoped that we would never have to reveal ourselves. But now they have forced our hand, continued. They see our kindness as weakness. They think we will be easy prey. They are about to learn how wrong they are. She turned back to the display. "Daniel, show me the fleet status." The holographic image changed to show 12 ships in detail. They did not look impressive from the outside. They were small and simple, designed to appear harmless. But the data beside each ship told a different story. Each ship carried a power core that generated more energy than a small star. Each ship had weapons that could disable an entire fleet without causing a single death, or destroy a planet if necessary. Each ship had shields that could withstand almost anything the galaxy could throw at them. "They have 10,000 ships," Daniel said. "Our 12 ships could defeat them in less than an hour if we wanted to." "But we do not want to," said firmly. "We are not monsters. We will give them every chance to turn back. We will show them our power, but we will not use it unless we must." Laura nodded. "The non-lethal systems are ready. We can disable their ships without killing anyone. It will be a demonstration, nothing more." "And if they do not listen?" Daniel asked quietly. His face grew hard. "Then we will do what we must, but I pray it does not come to that." She thought about the old days before she had retired. She had been one of the designers of the concealment protocol, the plan that had kept humanity's secret safe for 2. She had always known this day might come, but she had hoped it would not happen in her lifetime. "Send the 12 ships to the edge of the system," she ordered. "We will meet there, and we will give them one chance to go home." Officers began carrying out her orders. Ships powered up in the massive hangars. Pilots took their positions. The vault, which had been sleeping for so long, was finally awake. Stood alone for a moment, looking at the display. The red dots of the fleet grew closer with each passing second. 2,000 years of peace, she whispered. And now it ends because one species could not leave well enough alone. She straightened her uniform and pushed down her emotions. There would be time for sadness later. Right now, she had a job to do. May God forgive us for what we are about to show them, she said. And then she went to war. High Commander stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Pride, and watched the stars with hungry eyes. His fleet of 10,000 warships stretched out behind him like a great river of death. In just a few hours, they would reach the human home world. In just a few days, humanity would be nothing but a memory. Commander, his sensor officer called out, we are detecting 12 small vessels at the edge of the human system. Turned his head slowly. 12, only 12. Yes, Commander. They appear to be standard human cargo ships. No significant weapons detected. A smile spread across his face. This was even better than he had hoped. The humans were so weak that they could only send 12 tiny ships to face his mighty armada. This would not even be a battle. It would be a slaughter. Open a communication channel, ordered. I want to speak to whoever is foolish enough to stand in our way. The main screen flickered, and a human face appeared. It was a woman with short gray hair and calm blue eyes. She wore a simple uniform with no decorations or medals. Behind her, could see other humans sitting at their stations, all of them looking surprisingly relaxed. I am Admiral Brooks of Earth, the woman said. You must be High Commander. I have heard much about you. Then you know that you cannot win, replied. You have 12 ships. I have 10,000. This is not a battle. This is suicide. Admiral Brooks nodded slowly. It does seem that way, does it not? The numbers are certainly in your favor. Surrender now, and I will make your death quick. Fight, and I will make your species suffer for 1,000 years. The human woman did something strange then. She sighed. It was a deep, sad sigh, like a mother about to punish a child who refused to listen. High Commander, I am going to give you one chance. Turn your fleet around and go home. Report to the Galactic Council and ask for forgiveness. Do this, and no one has to die today. Laughed so hard that his entire body shook. You are giving me a chance to surrender. You have 12 ships. I know. Admiral Brooks's voice was quiet and steady. And I am asking you, begging you to take this chance. Because if you do not, I will have to show you something that I really do not want to show you. You are insane, declared. All weapons target the human vessels, destroy them. The fleet moved forward. Thousands of weapons charged and prepared to fire. The 12 human ships sat motionless, making no attempt to run or fight. And then something happened that makes blood run cold. The 12 human ships began to glow. A soft blue light surrounded each one, growing brighter and brighter until it hurt to look at them. The energy readings on the sensors went crazy, climbing higher than anything they had ever recorded. What is happening? Demanded. What are they doing? His sensor officer's voice was shaking. Commander, each of those ships is generating power levels equal to a small star. This is not possible. This technology does not exist. Fire, fire everything. The fleet unleashed a storm of weapons fire. Thousands of missiles, energy beams, and plasma bolts flew toward the 12 human ships. It was enough firepower to destroy a moon. The weapons hit the human shields and simply vanished. They did not explode. They did not bounce off. They just disappeared as if they had never existed. Our weapons are having no effect, the sensor officer reported, his voice barely a whisper. On the screen, Admiral Brooks looked tired. I really wished you had listened, High Commander. Now I have to do this. She gave an order to someone off-screen. Lieutenant Adams, begin Level 1 response. One of the 12 human ships moved forward. Just one. It was piloted by a young man named Chris Adams, only 25 years old but one of the best pilots Earth had ever produced. His ship glowed even brighter, and then it released a wave of energy that spread across space like ripples in a pond. The wave passed through the fleet, and everywhere it touched, ships went dark. Engines stopped. Weapons powered down. Lights flickered and died. In 47 seconds, 3,000 ships were completely disabled. Their crews were alive and unharmed, but their ships were nothing more than floating metal. Stared at the screen in shock. 3,000 ships defeated by one tiny vessel in less than a minute. His hands were shaking, though he tried to hide it. "This is impossible," he said. Admiral Brooks appeared on his screen again. "High Commander, 3,000 of your ships have been disabled. Their crews are safe. We have not killed anyone. This is your second chance. Take your remaining ships and leave, please." Looked around his bridge. His officers were terrified. They had never seen anything like this. They had been told that humans were weak, that this would be an easy victory. They had been lied to. But pride would not let him run. He was a warrior. He had never retreated from any battle. He would not start now. "You think this trick will scare me?" he shouted. "I still have 7,000 ships. We will overwhelm you with numbers." Admiral Brooks closed her eyes for a moment. When she opened them, there was deep sadness in them. "Lieutenant Adams," she said quietly, "Level 2. This time, the response was different. The 12 human ships moved together, forming a pattern in space. They began to glow with a golden light instead of blue. The energy readings went even higher, so high that the sensors could not measure them. Chris Adams spoke for the first time. His voice was calm and professional, but there was no joy in it. Targeting 2,000 ships, using minimum necessary force, firing. Beams of golden light shot out from the human ships. They moved faster than anything had ever seen. Each beam hit a ship exactly in its power core. Each ship exploded instantly, leaving nothing behind but dust. 2,000 ships destroyed in less than 1 minute. Fell backward into his command chair. His legs would not hold him up anymore. 5,000 of his ships were gone, either disabled or destroyed. The humans had lost nothing. "What are you?" he whispered. Admiral Brooks looked at him through the screen. Her face was not proud or triumphant. She looked like someone who had been forced to do something terrible. "We are what you created," she said. "You wanted to wake us up. You wanted to see what humans really are. Well, now you know." She leaned forward slightly. "You have 5,000 ships left, High Commander. I can disable them all without killing anyone else, or I can destroy them all in the next 60 seconds. The choice is yours." Looked at the wreckage floating in space. He looked at his officers, their faces pale with fear. He looked at his own hands, still shaking. "I will not surrender," he said, but his voice had no strength left in it. "Then you will die," Admiral Brooks replied. "And every single under your command will die with you. Is your pride worth all their lives?" For the first time in his existence, High Commander did not know what to do. He had built his entire life on the belief that strength was everything, that warriors never surrendered, that death in battle was the greatest honor. But this was not a battle, this was an execution. "I need time," he said finally. "I need to think." Admiral Brooks nodded. "You have 1 hour, use it wisely." The screen went dark and sat alone with his thoughts, surrounded by the ruins of his perfect plan. The emergency session of the Galactic Council was the largest in 2,000 years. Representatives from all 47 species had gathered, some in person and some through holographic projection. The news from the Sol system had spread across the galaxy like wildfire, and everyone wanted answers. Ambassador Sam Miller stood at the center of the Great Hall, just as High Commander had stood days before. But while had been full of pride and anger, Sam looked tired and sad. "I suppose you all have questions," he said quietly. The questions came all at once, a flood of voices speaking over each other. How did you defeat 10,000 ships? What technology do you have? Why did you lie to us? Are you going to attack us next? Sam raised his hand, and slowly the room fell silent. Let me tell you a story, he said. A story about what humanity was before we joined this council. He touched a control on his wrist, and a holographic image appeared above him. It showed Earth, but not the green and blue world that most species knew. This Earth was and burning, its surface covered with the marks of terrible weapons. 3,000 years ago, humanity developed technology that could change the nature of reality itself. We could fold space, allowing us to travel anywhere instantly. We could harness the power of stars and use it as a weapon. We could build machines that thought faster than any living mind. The image changed to show human ships in battle but not fighting aliens. They were fighting each other. And we used this power to destroy ourselves. The Great Civil War lasted 200 years. We turned our weapons on our own brothers and sisters. We cracked moons. We burned planets. We killed billions. The alien delegates watched in horror as the holographic images showed the destruction. Ships tearing each other apart. Cities vanishing in flashes of light. People running and screaming, only to be consumed by weapons that should never have existed. When it was finally over, we looked at what we had done. We looked at the ruins of our civilization, the graves of our children, the ashes of our dreams, and we were horrified. Sam's voice grew heavy with emotion. We realized that our technology was too dangerous. Our power was too great. If we continued on this path, we would eventually destroy not just ourselves but everything around us. The image changed again, showing the signing of an ancient document. Humans in simple clothing, their faces marked by grief and determination. So we made a choice. We would hide our true nature. We would put away our weapons and pretend to be simple farmers and traders. When the Galactic Council invited us to join them, we saw it as a chance to start over. A chance to prove that we could be something better than what we were. Delegate Myra of the stood up slowly. Her voice was trembling. You hid your power for 2,000 years. You let us believe you were weak. Why? Sam looked at her with gentle eyes. Because we were afraid. Not of you, of ourselves. We knew that if the galaxy saw what we could do, one of two things would happen. Either everyone would fear us and try to destroy us before we could threaten them, or everyone would want our technology and eventually use it to destroy each other. He spread his hands in a gesture of openness. We chose to be weak because it was the only way to keep everyone safe, including ourselves. The council chamber was completely silent. The alien delegates were trying to understand what they had just heard. For 2,000 years, they had lived alongside a species that could have conquered the entire galaxy, but chose not to. Then why reveal yourselves now? Asked the ancient elder. Sam smiled sadly. Because gave us no choice. He declared war on us. He sent 10,000 ships to destroy our home. We could not let Earth burn, not even to keep our secret, so we did what we had to do. Meanwhile, far from the council chamber, Admiral Brooks was boarding the flagship. She had given his hour to think, and now she was coming to hear his answer in person. The soldiers who escorted her were afraid. She could see it in their eyes, in the way they kept their distance from her. She was just one small human woman, but they looked at her like she was a monster. She found in his command chamber, sitting alone in the darkness. The great warrior who had been so proud and confident just days ago now looked broken and confused. Admiral Brooks, he said without looking up, you came yourself. Are you here to kill me? Sat down across from him. No, I am here to talk. What is there to talk about? You have one. My fleet is destroyed. My honor is gone. Just finish it. Reached into her uniform and pulled out a small device. She placed it on the table between them, and a holographic display appeared. It showed scenes from human history, the same ones Sam was showing the council. "Do you know what this is?" she asked. Looked at the images of destruction and death. "Your civil war. I have heard of it, but I never knew it was this bad." 1.4 billion people died, said quietly. "We destroyed 12 of our own colony worlds. We turned our home planet into a wasteland that took 500 years to heal. We did all of this to ourselves." She looked directly into his yellow eyes. "We smile when people threaten us, High Commander, because we know something that you do not. We know exactly how much death and destruction we are capable of. We have seen it. We have lived it. We carry it with us every single day." Was silent for a long moment. "Then why did you hide? With power like that, you could rule the galaxy." "We do not want to rule the galaxy," replied. "We want to live in peace. We want to raise our children without fear. We want to grow old and die knowing that we did not cause more suffering than we prevented." She leaned forward. "You called us weak because we chose not to fight, but choosing not to fight is the hardest thing we have ever done. Every day we wake up knowing that we have the power to do terrible things, and every day we choose not to use it. That is not weakness, High Commander. That is strength." Looked at the holographic images still playing above the table. He saw human soldiers weeping over the bodies of fallen enemies. He saw human leaders signing peace treaties with shaking hands. He saw human children playing in the ruins of cities, somehow finding joy in the middle of horror. "I do not understand you," he said finally. "No, you do not," agreed. "Your people believe that strength means conquest, that power means domination, that a warrior who does not fight is no warrior at all." She stood up and looked down at him. "But we have learned that true strength is knowing when not to fight. True power is having the ability to destroy everything and choosing not to. A real warrior fights only when there is no other choice." "And now, what happens now?" Walked to the window and looked out at the stars. "Now you have a choice to make. You can surrender and face the judgment of the Galactic Council. You can explain why you broke 2,000 years of peace and accept whatever punishment they give you. Lord. Or you can keep fighting and I will destroy every single ship you have left. Every soldier, every crew member, every life. Gone in an instant." She turned back to face him. "I do not want to do that. I have seen enough death to last 1,000 lifetimes. But if you force my hand, I will do what I must to protect my people." Stood up slowly. For a long moment, he just looked at her, this small human woman who had beaten his entire fleet with just 12 ships. "You really do not want to kill us," he said slowly, "even after what we tried to do." "No," said, "I do not. I want you to learn from this. I want you to go home and teach your people that there is more to life than war. I want you to help build a galaxy where no one has to be afraid." She held out her hand. "What do you say, High Commander? Will you help me build something better?" Looked at her hand for a long time. Everything he had ever believed told him to refuse, to die fighting rather than accept peace from an enemy. But somewhere deep inside, a new voice was speaking. A voice that wondered if maybe, just maybe, the humans had found something that they had always been missing. Slowly, hesitantly, he reached out and took her hand. 1 month had passed since the battle that shook the galaxy. The Galactic Council had met many times since then, discussing what to do about humanity and about the future of peace in the galaxy. Today was the final session, the day when everything would be decided. The Great Hall was filled with delegates from all 47 species, but this time the mood was different. There was no fear, no anger, no tension. Instead, there was something that felt almost like hope. High Commander stood at the center of the room, but he was not there as a conqueror. He was there as a prisoner awaiting judgment. His uniform had been stripped of its medals and honors. His 4 arms hung at his sides in a posture of submission. "The Dominion broke the Treaty of Eternal Harmony," the Council speaker announced. "They declared war on humanity without cause or warning. They sent 10,000 ships to destroy a peaceful species. By all rights, They should face the harshest punishment we can give. Lowered his head. He had accepted his fate. He knew that what he had done was wrong, and he was ready to pay the price. But then Ambassador Sam Miller stood up. "If I may speak," he said. The council speaker nodded. "The floor is yours, Ambassador." Sam walked slowly to the center of the room. He stood next to, close enough to touch the being who had tried to destroy his entire species just 1 month ago. "They did attack us," Sam said. "They did break the peace. They did try to kill every human in existence. All of this is true." He paused and looked around at the assembled delegates. But they did not know who we really were. They thought we were weak farmers who would be easy to conquer. They were wrong, but their mistake was based on a lie that we ourselves had created. For 2,000 years, we pretended to be something we were not. We let the galaxy believe we were harmless. Delegate Myra of the spoke up. "Are you defending them after what they tried to do?" "No," Sam said. "I am not defending them. What they did was wrong and they know it. But I am asking this council to consider something. They attacked us because they did not understand us. They saw our kindness as weakness, our peace as cowardice. They were wrong, but how could they have known? We hid the truth from everyone." He turned to face directly. "High Commander, in the past month, you have learned things about humanity that no other species knew. You have seen what we really are. You have understood why we chose to hide. What have you learned from this experience?" Raised his head slowly. His yellow eyes, once filled with pride and arrogance, now held something different, something that looked almost like humility. "I have learned that I was a fool," he said. His deep voice echoed through the silent hall. "I thought strength meant crushing everyone weaker than yourself. I thought power meant taking whatever you wanted. I thought warriors were measured by how many enemies they killed." He looked around at the assembled delegates. "But the humans showed me something different. They had the power to destroy my entire fleet in seconds. They could have killed every soldier under my command. They could have turned them to dust and ended my species forever." His voice grew quieter, more thoughtful. "Instead, they showed mercy. They disabled our ships without killing anyone. They gave us chance after chance to surrender. Even when I refused, even when I insulted them and threatened them, they tried to find a peaceful solution." He turned back to Sam. "The humans taught me that true strength is not about destruction. It is about having the power to destroy and choosing not to. It is about protecting the weak instead of crushing them. It is about building rather than burning." Sam nodded slowly. "And what will you do with this knowledge, High Commander?" "If the Council will allow it," said, "I would like to spend the rest of my life teaching others what I have learned. They are not the only species who think power means conquest. There are others who might make the same mistake I did. I want to help them understand before it is too late." The hall erupted in surprised conversation. This was not what anyone had expected. The great warrior, the one who had broken 2,000 years of peace, wanted to become an ambassador for peace himself. Admiral Brooks, who had been watching from the human section, stood up. "The soldiers who survived the battle are being returned to there as we speak. Their families will have them back. No one else has to die because of this mistake." "And what about your weapons?" asked the elder. "Now that the galaxy knows what you can do, what will you do with that power?" Smiled sadly. "The same thing we have always done. We will put them away and hope we never have to use them again." She walked to the center of the room and stood beside Sam and, "The 12 ships that defeated the fleet are already back in the vault. The technology we used is being locked away again. We will return to being simple farmers and traders, just as we were before." "But everyone knows now," Delegate Myra said. "Everyone knows you have this power." "Yes," Sam agreed. "And that changes things. We cannot pretend to be weak anymore, but we can still choose to be peaceful. We can still prove every single day that having power does not mean you have to use it." The council speaker called for a vote on the fate of the Dominion. The decision was almost unanimous. They would not be punished with war or destruction. Instead, they would be given a chance to change, to learn, to grow. High Commander would become an ambassador, teaching other warrior species about the wisdom the humans had taught him. A new treaty was signed that day. It was similar to the old Treaty of Eternal Harmony, but with one important addition. All species now acknowledged that humanity had chosen peace not from weakness but from wisdom, and all species agreed to remember this lesson, that the greatest strength is the strength to choose not to fight. 3 months later, Sam Miller sat in a small garden on Earth. It was a beautiful spring day, with flowers blooming and birds singing. He had retired from his position as ambassador, leaving the work to younger people. Now he spent his days reading books and watching the clouds pass by. A young girl approached him. She was not human. She was with silver skin and large dark eyes, the daughter of Delegate Myra, who was visiting Earth for the first time. She was about 6 years old, curious and unafraid. "Excuse me," she said in her soft voice. "May I ask you a question?" Sam smiled warmly. "Of course, little one. What would you like to know?" The girl sat down on the grass beside him. "My mother told me about what happened with the... She said the humans smiled when they were threatened with war. I do not understand. Why would you smile at something so scary?" Sam looked up at the blue sky and thought for a moment. How do you explain 2,000 years of history to a child? How do you describe the horror of war, the weight of power, the burden of choosing peace? "Let me tell you a secret," he said finally. "A long time ago, humans learned something very important. We learned that fighting is easy, but peace is hard. Anyone can pick up a weapon and hurt someone else, but it takes real strength to put the weapon down and walk away." The girl tilted her head. "But why smile?" "Because smiling reminds us of what we are fighting for," Sam said. "We do not fight because we hate our enemies. We fight to protect the people we love. And when we remember that, when we think about all the children who will grow up in peace because we chose not to fight, it makes us smile." The girl thought about this for a while. Then she smiled too. "I think I understand," she said. "Smiling is like hope. It is like saying that tomorrow will be better than today." Sam reached out and gently touched her silver cheek. "That is exactly right, little one. That is exactly right." He looked up at the stars that were just beginning to appear in the darkening sky. Somewhere out there, the galaxy was learning to live with the truth about humanity. Some species were afraid. Some were grateful. Some were still trying to understand. But Sam was not worried. He had seen the worst of what humanity could do, and he had seen the best. He knew that as long as humans kept choosing peace, as long as they kept smiling in the face of darkness, the galaxy would be okay. "The greatest victory," he said softly, more to himself than to the child, "is the war you never have to fight." And somewhere in the depths of space, 12 ships slept quietly in the darkness, waiting for a call that everyone hoped would never come.